Alexander Hamilton's impact on early American economic policy, Hamilton versus Jefferson, competing visions for a new nation. Post-Revolution economic crisis. After the Revolution, America was in a big trouble economically. They had war debt, a lot of it, not a lot of workers, deaths during the war, a national depression, low on money nationally. They didn't have a unified currency, which caused a lot of inflation, so they didn't have what we have today. And they lost Britain as a major trade partner of theirs. And the Articles of Confederation were too weak to fix the problems, so they weren't strong enough. And because of all this going on after the war, America really needed a strong financial plan. And that's where Hamilton comes in. Hamilton had a strong role and great visions on how to fix this, and he expressed that clearly. He was serving for George Washington in the Revolutionary War. Saw firsthand the lack of funds, how the lack of funds hurt the army. He saw how nobody was donating to the army, and that really hurt him and the army. And he was appointed Secretary of the Treasury by George Washington. George Washington really trusted him. He believed in a strong economy. A strong economy would turn out to be a strong nation. And he supported a strong federal government to manage finances. So he wanted that federal government to be strong, and then that would, in turn, help the economy out. The National Bank. This was one of Hamilton's ideas here. Hamilton created the Bank of the United States in 1791. The goals of it were to improve the national credit, to establish a single stable currency. That was one of the big problems after the war. And support government revenue and financial organization. So kind of ties everything together. This was very important, that stable currency. It was located in Philadelphia. That's where the first one was. And it was a major step towards modern American banking. Hamilton had the Report on Public Credit in 1790, and it planned to pay off national and state war debts, which was really big because the war debts were very big. And he wanted to strengthen U.S. credit and show reliability. So Hamilton really did want to strengthen this U.S. credit through the bank and through this Report on Public Credit. He proposed new taxes and tariffs to fund the repayment. These taxes and tariffs would help pay off the debts. Opposition from Jefferson and Madison. So Jefferson and Madison were very against Hamilton. They didn't like his ideas. They felt that it favored the North, and they didn't like the increased federal power. So they kind of came to a compromise with this. The compromise was the South would support the plan, so helping this report pass, and then the capital would move to the South, to Washington, D.C. So then the South would have kind of where the capital was located, and then this plan that helped favor the North a little bit more because the North had a lot of debts and the South had less debts. Hamilton wanted to combine those debts together and pay them off all together. And so that was helping the North more than the South, but then this compromise helped unite the North and the South, and then it moved the capital to Washington, D.C. Then Hamilton had the Report on Manufactures in 1791, and then Hamilton argued that industrialization would be more national strength, right? So less of that farming look, more of those factories, building things, making things. Government should support manufacturing. Hamilton really pushed for that. And then he wanted to use tariffs, roads, canals to boost industry. Especially, he wanted to use these. It would help increase trade, and then tariffs would be on the trades, of course. The goal was economic independence and military strength. So this industrialization right here would also help out the military because they'd be able to make their own military weapons. And then it was very ahead of its time. Ideas became influential later. So they weren't immediately established, but later on, that's what America did do, was industrialize, and we can see that today. So Jefferson had a very different vision than Hamilton had, right? Jefferson believed the ideal citizen was this independent farmer who worked for himself. He didn't go and lived outside of the big city. He didn't depend on anyone. He just depended on himself to make food for him and then sell that food to make money for him. He wanted an agrarian economy, not an industrial one. So that was kind of that agriculturally based economy. He believed industrialization would have corruption and wage slavery. Basically, people being so dependent on their employer and not dependent on themselves. And then that corruption could be happening in those big cities and big factories. Strongly opposed central banking, high taxes, and large federal government involvement in the economy. He did not like the central banking plan. He thought that was going to be corrupt as well. He did not like the high taxes on the people. He wanted to just kind of let them be more independent. And then that large federal government, he really didn't like because he also saw corruption in that as well. He supported minimal government focused mainly on foreign protection. So yes, he didn't want the government to be so involved in the economy. He wanted it to be mainly the federal government to be concerned with foreign protection from other nations that might try to attack us. And that's what Jefferson wanted for the federal government. So Hamilton and Jefferson had some major differences. They had different debates over these differences. So here's a little chart. There's an issue, Hamilton's and Jefferson's opinions on that. So the type of economy, of course, Hamilton wanted that industrial commercial, while Jefferson wanted the agricultural. Government power, Hamilton wanted that strong federal government. Jefferson wanted a limited federal government, but he wanted each state to be stronger. So the state government to be stronger themselves. National bank, Hamilton believed it was necessary for stability, and Jefferson believed it was unconstitutional and also dangerous. Tariffs and taxes, Hamilton believed they were needed for debt and industry, and Jefferson said they should just stay lower. They should just stay out of it more. And then view of the people, Hamilton, he believed that the people were needed for structure and support, so they were needed to be kind of united. And then Jefferson believed that independent farmers preserve liberty. So Jefferson believed in that more independent person, not really as much grouped together and dependent on each other. So the long-term impact. Hamilton's ideas shaped modern U.S. economics. So a lot of what we see today is very much like what Hamilton would have wanted it to be. Central banking, we know that's just amazing in America. We have great banks, a strong federal economic power, a national credit system, and industrial growth and infrastructure. So Hamilton was encouraging all of this, and that's what we see out of today. We see those ideas that were from Hamilton. Jefferson's vision became less practical over time. So this agriculturally based economy would slowly die off as America would become more industrialized. Hamilton's influence defines much of today's U.S. economy. So we just see a lot today that it's just a lot like what Hamilton wanted. In conclusion, post-revolution America faced severe economic issues, which proposed a need for a stronger economic system, a stronger financial plan. Hamilton created foundational policies, a national bank, a debt plan, and an industrial vision. So he wanted to help out the colonies. The national bank wanted to pay off the debts and then make America more industrialized. Jefferson opposed this very much. Jefferson fiercely opposed these ideas, pushing for small government and agriculture. So he wanted that government to stay out of it and that agriculturally based economy to stay. Hamilton's vision ultimately shaped the modern United States, proving him ahead of his time. So his ideas were much used as time went on and looked upon less then. But again, his mind was just ahead of his time. So he was very smart with that. And that's all about Alexander Hamilton's influence on today's economy and how that differed from Thomas Jefferson.